A lot of times in your office work, you get done at the end of the day, you really can't see what you've done. This prior was ag field, and now to be able to see the resource that we put into this and the work.
Every project is different. I think that's what keeps me going. You're painting your canvas. You start out with just a blank field that's really in disrepair, and then see it transform.
You come out here and you're working with the dirt, you understand the life cycle of what's going to happen, how much food that's going to provide and habitat for waterfowl. It's pretty special, but it is a tremendous amount of work. Get 'em.
Ducks Unlimited Television is presented by Drake Waterfowl Systems, innovators in waterfowl hunting.
Hello and welcome to Ducks Unlimited TV. I'm Ashley Horvitz. The Great Lakes region of North America is a high priority area for Ducks Unlimited. It contains a huge amount of wetlands habitat that waterfowl and other wildlife in the area depend upon for survival. DUTV co-host Fred Zink is very familiar with this region. He was born and raised in northwestern Ohio and makes his home in Port Clinton, located on the shores of Lake Erie. One of his favorite hunting destinations is Ohio's Great Black Swamp, an historic wetland complex and DU restoration focal point. Fred takes you there in this episode for mallards, black ducks, and Canada geese, so close they seem to touch the gun barrels. Next on DUTV.
So here in the Great Lakes region, obviously we have a tremendous amount of watersheds. So there's a tremendous amount of divers coming in here, and the mallards utilize those open waters when it gets cold as well. But the primary draw here dates back long before we were thinking about duck hunting here, was the Great Black Swamp. 310,000 acre black swamp started right here, encompassed Ohio and parts of southern Michigan.
It was a mostly forested wetland type habitat. We had these coastal areas that were a little bit different, where you had a lot of marsh and more grassy type cover.
And so a lot of people lived up in this area because of fur trades. The Ottawa Indians settled right here. This is why this is called Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, and we're in Ottawa County, Ohio.
Eventually, once the Europeans came in and settled, we had really fertile soil here, and they figured that out, and they quickly started to drain the swamp so that they could do some agriculture here.
That coastal marsh system has been decimated. It's about 95% gone. 70+% of the landscapes and agricultural production. Significant water quality issues in Lake Erie associated with toxic algae and harmful algal blooms that are just wreaking havoc on the lake, wreaking havoc on drinking water supplies for some of the local communities. And it's become a focus of Ducks Unlimited to address the water quality issues in the lake through our habitat conservation work.
Fortunately, in Northwest Ohio, we've got a really good land ethic, a lot of rich waterfowl heritage up in this area.
The reason why this place is so special to me is this is a farm field when I first bought it. But growing up and having kids that wanted to go hunting all the time, I needed a place where I could, introduce them to waterfowl hunting, and also the part of conservation, which is also very, very important to me. My family business prior to me starting Zink Calls and getting into the waterfowl industry was excavating. So my dad at that time still had excavating equipment. He brought it up, and we actually built this whole thing from the ground up. think the coolest part about the whole thing is to come out here, whether we're hunting or just coming out to watch the ducks come in, to be able to see the resource that we put into this and the work all year long is pretty special. It all stems from what God created us, which was gray black swallow. And we just got set up, hooked up, bright blue sky, beautiful Drake mallard, Mr. Jeff Finn, the 3-shot shuffle. He was right there, he was so close, you just kind of like,
Yeah, it'll improve.
Never gets old.
No, it does
It's
not.
beautiful, man, that sunshine. I just looked up and I just seen, I was like, oh boy, like new money.
Ducks Unlimited Television is presented by Drake Waterfowl Systems, innovators in waterfowl hunting. Mossy Oak Shadow Grass Habitat, the official camo of Ducks Unlimited. Browning Firearms, the best there is. Native Nurseries, hand-selected, hand-grown plants for wildlife. Higdon Outdoors, quality, customer service, innovation, that's Higdon. Mossy Oak Properties, America's land specialist. And Ducks Unlimited celebrates 15 million acres conserved.
So the state of Ohio is 95% privately owned. Less than 5% of the state's in public ownership. And that puts Ohio towards the bottom of the list of the 50 states in terms of land available to the public. So, we know we can't meet the needs of waterfowl here in Ohio and continentally if we only work on public lands. There's just not enough of it. So we focus a lot of attention on private lands, working with private landowners and duck clubs as well to restore wetlands on their property.
Joe, I talked to Joe Ewink a couple times this week. He mentioned you're interested in a wetland project on a piece you just bought on the south side of the bay.
Yeah, we met, so we're looking to see what the potential is as far as, the available programs of what we can do.
Interest in trying to divert some ag runoff into the wetlands, get some H2O Ohio money?
Yep.
What I was talking to Joe about was it would be pretty slick if we could package like a Lake Erie crep with H2O Ohio incentives.
Yeah.
With DU's got a Great Lakes Fish and Wildlife Restoration Act grant right now. We're working with Jeff and
Right.
Mark and Joe to do some private lands projects, and we're looking for projects.
Yeah.
So.
Ducks Unlimited doesn't really have the staff capacity to lead a private lands conservation program, so we lean on our partners to really get the work done. Primarily in Ohio, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Awesome. Here we go.
The initial reaction for most farmers when you ask if they want to take some land out of production to restore it to wetlands is, they take a couple steps back and think you're crazy, but
when this was all drained, all of it's become ag, and there's nothing bad about that, but there's some places that are just not that good of ag land that's just lays wet, or the farmer really cannot monetize that to a high level.
we've done a couple projects lately where we've actually helped improve the drainage on the good cropland, and then the lower lying wetter cropland that they had, we've actually done a restoration and restored wetlands in those areas. And so what we do is you're taking out the stuff that they're losing money on most of the time. You're improving the yields in the better cropland, and then we're funneling most of the drainage from that cropland through the wetland before it can get into the watersheds.
Every little piece of ground that converts or reverts back to wetlands not only helps Great Lakes Clean Water Act, but also helps the waterfowl of the area.
Once we stop the drainage and are able to restore the hydrology to these areas, the response is almost immediate. People are always amazed at how fast things just revert back to the native vegetation.
You're out front low, to the right slightly. And it's cool to see someone in his position that's out there trying to get key properties so the feds are either A, buying it, or B, going in and developing it into something that has some teeth to it. And I think what gives Jeff his edge is because he's a hunter as well. And it gives him the knowledge to understand how to do all that.
Once the most abundant and most harvested duck in the Atlantic Flyway, the American black duck has fallen on some hard times, unlike the overall rebound in waterfowl populations in general. During the latter half of the 20th century, the continental black duck population experienced a dramatic decline. According to U.S. Fish and Wildlife estimates, black duck numbers fell by half between the 50s and the 80s. Theories abound as to why this population drop occurred. Overharvest, crossbreeding with mallards, a decrease in habitat, and environmental contamination are just some of the possible explanations. And while black duck populations have stabilized since 1990, they're still below the North American Waterfowl Management Plan goal of 640,000 birds. For over 70 years, Ducks Unlimited has been at the forefront of black duck management and conservation efforts. This commitment has helped DU to develop the Completing the Cycle initiative. This approach addresses the extensive habitat loss in the Atlantic Flyway, stretching from Maryland to Ontario, Quebec, and Canada's Atlantic provinces. The initiative focuses on providing high-quality habitat that benefits not only black ducks, but 33 other waterfowl species as well, all of whom migrate or winter in that area. To learn more about the black duck and the Completing the Cycle initiative, visit ducks.org.
DU Insights is brought to you by Mossy Oak Properties. Find your favorite place at mossyoakproperties.com.
We've got a singleness of purpose with Ducks Unlimited. I mean, we do what we do for ducks. That's why we come to work every day. That's what we raise the money for. But, you know, the cool thing about wetland conservation is that it benefits a ton of other things. They're some of the most productive systems on Earth, so a lot of wildlife
You ready?
and a lot of fish rely on wetlands for some or all of their life cycle needs. Here in the western basin of Lake Erie, this area it has the largest concentration of neotropical migrant songbirds on the continent. Right here, with Ottawa County being the epicenter, and a lot of those birds end up using, the wetlands that we conserve.
Having partnerships with organizations like Ducks Unlimited is crucial for us. You know, we don't have a large budget to do as much restoration as we would like.
You see these two out front.
So partners like Ducks Unlimited, Ohio Division of Wildlife, we work a lot with our local soil and water conservation office, and we all work together, pool all of our funds to make all those funds go a lot further.
When it comes to delivering our habitat conservation work here in Ohio and beyond, one of our big niches is really our engineering services department. We've got the people, the skills, the experience to really take those complicated wetland restoration projects and complete them from step A through Z.
You know, water quality is becoming more and more important with the problems in the western basin of Lake Erie with the algae blooms. You know, restoring wetlands is becoming more of a water quality priority. They're the kidneys of the landscape.
And the benefit of having all these natural wetlands is they hold that, filter out those nutrients or fertilizers, and allow the clean water to get back in the lake.
Western Lake Erie Basin supports about 70% of the flyway population of American black ducks.
How many black ducks winter here anymore?
40,000.
40,000?
Yeah, when conditions are good.
Yeah, about 40,000 black ducks. I remember the high was in the 60s or 70,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Right there on Sandusky Bay, actually right behind my home. And there's black gold around here. We love them.
Oh, there we go.
These are nice black ducks. This here is a pair. You see she has a kind of an olive green bill, and that's a drake. Very similar to a drake mallard. Now this one here is more almost a straight black duck. You see a little white here. A straight black duck typically doesn't have that. She's got a little bit more mallard somewhere in her gene pool. You can see the white tailing edge of the speculum here. That's part of a little bit of the issue, isn't it, with black ducks, is they're hybridizing with mallards so much. Up here in northern Ohio, that's black gold right there. Beautiful ducks, beautiful.
Hunting your retriever in extremely cold conditions, high winds, ice, maybe sleet, snow, the dog is wet. It's really nasty conditions will take a toll on the energy level of your retriever. Let's look at a few tips that you can take to prepare your dog for this type of experience. Our first and most obvious thing that we can do is consider the energy level of the dog that comes from nutrition. You want to feed your hunting dog a balanced diet of food like Purina Pro Plan, which offers 30% protein, 20% fat. It's the fat that creates the energy level for your dog. Begin increasing the amount of food that you're offering your dog 1 to 2 weeks before the hunt, slowly increasing the amount being offered. Also, float the food to improve digestibility. Definitely consider a properly fitted thermal water vest to added warmth. Also, we want to trim the hair in the pads between the toes. This hair can accumulate ice and become quite uncomfortable for the dog. Let's consider the hazards around the duck blind. Slick ramps, water stands that have iced over, falling through the ice. Surfaces of metal boats become frosted over. Beware of the risk of injury in and around your blind. Keeping our dog high and dry with water stands, pit boxes, dog highs will keep the dog protected from the extremely cold conditions of the wind and offer extra warmth. Be sure to take a look around your blind and your boat to make sure there's no hazardous conditions that could threaten your dog. When you're hunting in cold conditions, the basic rule is this: keep the dog high and dry.
Duck Dog with Mike Stewart is presented by Purina Pro Plan, nutrition that performs. DUTV is powered by Zink Calls, a champion in every call. Browning Ammunition, the best there is. Biologic, scientifically proven wildlife products. Purina Pro Plan, nutrition that performs. Tetra Hearing, more than hearing protection, it's hearing perfection. Closed captioning for Ducks Unlimited Television is brought to you by Mossy Oak Bottomland, the official timber pattern of Ducks Unlimited.
Hi, I'm Fred Zink with Zink Calls. I want to talk to you about late season duck calling. Now, right here in Ohio right now, it's early December. The ducks have been here, so a lot of these ducks have been here for about a month. So a lot of these ducks are pretty smart, especially to the blind. If you're hunting a flooded area, even though as grassed up as this blind is, it blends in perfect. When you get elevate and it's floating in the water, you can see the square, right? And so you want to make sure you're not calling at the wrong time. You're reading the ducks, you're calling, you're doing everything right, but when the ducks come up over the top of you, you got to be very, very careful. I'd never call at the ducks here as they're coming over. I wait till they go by, but when I'm blowing at them, a lot of times I'll blow towards my decoys. So as they come over, I just hunker down, wait for them to go by. Another tip with that right there is a lot of times people call at the ducks too early. When the ducks are up high and they're descending downward and they go past you, a lot of times people will call at them too quickly, and I've done it many times. And when they do, they'll react and turn back into you. But if they're still too high, then they need to make another circle. And when the more times a duck will circle, the smarter they get and the more difficult they are to decoy. So a lot of times I'll let the ducks go a little ways and let them come down and get a lower elevation, so when they turn, they're at an elevation to where they can turn and come back in, and then either hit them with, to begin with, especially late in the year, aggressive feed call. If that doesn't work, turn back into you, and then go right back into. That's a great tip for late season ducks. I hope that really helps you this fall. For more information on Zink Calls, check us out online at zinkcalls.com.
Duck Talk with Fred Zink is powered by Zink Calls, a champion in every call.
The one thing that I've seen in 40 years of duck hunting in Ohio is I've seen duck hunting change. In some cases, not to the better. And what I mean by that is, I remember growing up as a kid, drawing a hunt over here at McGee Marsh at Ottawa was like winning the gold medal. Hunting was really, really good because of the management.
There's a huge group back to the right.
Oh, here they are. We have a lot of managers in those days that were diehard hunters that understood waterfowl. That's why Ducks Unlimited is putting together the Ducks Unlimited Ecology, Conservation, and Management Certificate, which is a certification that allows people to come in and understand and learn from Ducks Unlimited's managers, biologists, engineers to create and manage wetlands to a very, very high level.
Most of the acreage that we have here at Ottawa is purchased with federal duck stamp money.
Duck hunters and hunters in general are our biggest conservationists.
There's a lot of other ways that people contribute if they don't want to buy a federal duck stamp. You know, the state has some diversity stamps. We've been trying to get the word out that even if you're not a hunter, that purchasing a federal duck stamp, it's actually called the Federal Migratory Bird Stamp.
Here we come.
It goes to a good place, and it goes to these places that they're visiting, that we're protecting, and that people can come and enjoy.
Oh, baby.
The Great Black Swamp once reached from Sandusky Bay south and west to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and north and east to Detroit, Michigan. This system formed an ancient glacial lake plain dominated by forested wetlands, oak savannas, and coastal marshes along the Lake Erie shoreline. Agricultural drainage has cut the swamp down to a fraction of its former size. But the hunting is still strong there, and Ducks Unlimited, along with state and federal partners, is working hard to bring the Great Lakes region and the Great Black Swamp back to former glory. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on DUTV.
So it's opening week of deer gun season in Ohio, and we're duck hunting.
Yeah, by design.
Oh, I promise you.
When John Gordon said, hey, we were going to come up here and maybe do a hunt with you, I said, I got the perfect time during deer gun season.